Hey, this is Dave with FounderDojo. Hey, I want to talk about a topic that's very relevant and timely in the venture capital community, early stage investing, venture investing. And that topic is diversity. And I had a thought that occurred to me when I was preparing some of our marketing materials for the FounderDojo basic training program and trying to think about how our program is different. And I came across an idea that was pretty cool. That's something I hadn't thought about before. And it's related to diversity in venture capital and venture investing. So let's get into it. So listen, the pressure is on VC firms. They are getting questions coming from their limited partners about diversity initiatives. In fact, according to this Deloitte and Touche survey, 47% of VC firms are reporting that their LPs are asking them about diversity initiatives. And the focus isn't only on what companies are you investing and what founders are you backing, but also what is the makeup of your venture team in terms of the gender and ethnic makeup of the partners who are making these decisions. And that seems to be the focus. So according to this survey, some of these younger firms are making some strides in terms of getting some better representation. And in this survey, female employees made up 26%, up from 23%, and up from 21%. So there's definitely an improvement from 25, 23, 26. And similar with Black and Hispanic, represent 5, 6%. Respectively. So we look at those numbers and we say that's really low representation for women. If you think women, if you consider that women make up half the population, we have a very small percentage of them. And then with other minority groups, Black and Hispanic groups, of course, those numbers are even worse potentially. Now, of course, I don't know what's not reported here is the makeup of the applicants, right? So that would be relevant. But I think everyone looks at that and just says, you know what, that seems like that's not right. There seems to be some kind of bias in this area. And so I think that's pretty commonly known and something that I think the industry's trying to address. But one of the things I wanted to step back from this a little bit, and let's think about venture investing in general. And one of the things that is really obvious if you look at venture capital and venture investing is that the venture firms, they have to be really picky, and they can be picky in a bunch of different ways. They can be picky about the type of business model, the market opportunity, and they have to be picky because the returns in venture traditionally follow what's known as a power law function. And when you think of power law, think of it as like an 80-20 rule, where 80% of the returns come from 20% of the deals. But in venture, it's much worse than 80-20. It's more like 95-5. So 95% of the returns come from only 5% of their investments. And so this is why VCs say no all the time. They say no because effectively what they're trying to do is find this needle in a haystack. And it turns out that statistically, if you're talking about, early stage, like concept, pre-seed or seed stage, it turns out that it's actually statistically impossible to predict success at that stage, but it's much easier after you go Series A and beyond. This is why a lot of venture firms just focus on Series A and beyond. But as investors are moving kind of upstream to earlier stage, they're applying the same type of scrutiny to the deals, and really that's what they need to do. That's their job. Now, how they're scrutinizing, of course, is the question. And they're also under tremendous pressure. Venture fund returns, a lot of people don't know this. The returns as a category are really not that great. This is a distribution chart from AngelList. And really most of the firms are doing barely 1 times your money. Now you think in a venture firm, once they put capital into place and get an answer on whether that capital generated a return, you're generally looking at 10 to 12 years. So imagine if you gave someone $100 and they invested it for 10 to 12 years, and after all that time they returned, $105. Like how excited would you be about that? You wouldn't be, because just factoring in inflation, you basically lost money And you could have put that money into the stock market, and on average over a 50-year period, stock market returns, over 10%. So really venture returns aren't that great. We have some private equity investors that are friends of mine, and their funds typically do 3 to 4 times return, where they are buying, established companies like manufacturing companies, chemical companies, stuff like that. So if I can buy an existing business that has a lot less risk and get 3 to 4 times my money, why in the world would I ever invest in a startup? And a lot of private equity investors have that point of view. They're like, this is stupid. Like, why? Startups are ridiculous. Venture investing is ridiculous. And so they stay out of that. But in this game, I want you to appreciate that the venture funds, most of them are not meeting their investor requirements, and they're under constant pressure to try to find this needle in a haystack. And so I think some of these biases are kind of leaking in. So because of the intense vetting that's required, where venture capitalists basically have to say no to almost everybody, predicting startup success at this stage is really impossible. So they're trying to do something that's statistically impossible. They do everything they can to find patterns, right? So some investors like SaaS businesses, some only do B2B SaaS, some only do B2B SaaS in the medical industry of a certain, like they're so specific in terms of their focus. And the reason they're doing that is they're trying to really hone in on something they understand to improve their probability of success in making successful investments. And so they try to apply these patterns. Now, some of this just is human nature. It comes with, hey, I'm more comfortable with this deal. I understand this deal. Anything that's familiar in that category is going to make me more comfortable. And so you could see how gender and ethnic biases might come into that equation. But in spite of their best efforts, most venture firms totally fail to achieve risk-adjusted returns that are acceptable compared to alternative options. And humans are just humans. So when I think about FounderDojo and what we've done, and before I get into FounderDojo, just think about there's a couple quotes that come to mind that seem pretty relevant. Obviously, everybody knows this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And I think everyone resonates with that. Nobody wants to be judged based on the color of their skin. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, green, purple, whatever. Nobody wants that. It's not something I can control. I'm a white guy. Obviously, I can't control that. This is how God made me. And I'm just trying to make the best of my opportunities in the world, just like anybody else. So that's something to keep in mind. The other quote that I love, which I also love that Mark Andreessen uses this all the time, is be so good they can't ignore you. As a bootstrap entrepreneur, this is my attitude. Like, I'm just going to prove it by doing it, and then the success will be obvious, and no one will be able to deny it. And then the third piece is really, we're talking about what I think is American values, an American sense of fairness and equal opportunity. And I'm just quoting an article or a statement here from a paper that was written by a high school student in Michigan. And he says, freedom, equality, and individuality are America's biggest core values that will never be forgotten. People in America strive for all these values, and everyone has an equal chance in doing so. And this is really a fundamental American value. America was populated by people that were for someone else, and they came here to be part of the American dream and the land of opportunity. And we just fundamentally believe that everybody gets a shot. Everybody deserves a shot at that and a pursuit of happiness. So what are we doing about this in FounderDojo? Well, I didn't set out to solve the diversity problem in venture, but I think we kind of did. So most accelerators and pre-accelerators, they follow suit with the venture guys. They're very discerning. I think in some cases, it's harder to get into YC and Techstars, for example, than it is to get into Harvard. They're just very, very picky. And that's good for them given what they're trying to do. But for us at FounderDojo, we're taking a totally different approach. We are a meritocracy. In other words, one of the reasons we've completely solved, or one of the ways we've completely solved the diversity problem in this industry is that we don't vet anyone, right? So the problem with vetting is you have biases in the vetting. So if you don't vet anyone, then you have no biases. So we let everyone in. We built a scalable online course that anybody can take. And if you can scrape the money together to pay for the course, you can do it. It doesn't matter what your background is. You don't need my approval as a founder to be part of this the program. You don't need my approval. You don't need my say-so for you to learn this method of how to build successful startups. Anyone can do it. We let everyone in, which is totally different than the rest of the industry. Anyone of any background. It doesn't matter what your gender is, what your sexual orientation is, what your ethnicity is. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Anybody who's sincerely interested in building a successful business can sign up in our program. Even if you're not serious about that, you can sign up for the program. We just don't care about gender and ethnicity or these other dimensions. And so what happens is we naturally have a very diverse community, just naturally. If you let everyone in, by definition, it's going to be representative of the inputs. And in a meritocracy, when you're not vetting, there really is no business. So how do you learn how to build a successful business? Not by focusing on, gender quotas and other things. You just let everybody in and give them a chance. Show up and do the work. If you're a sincere entrepreneur and you have an idea for a business, a customer problem that you want to solve, and you're passionate about solving it, all you have to do is show up, learn the process, and do the work. Just do the work. That's it. That's the solution. So I think, it wasn't really our intention, but if you look at the problems in venture with vetting and the biases that are included with that vetting, the best way to eliminate those biases is not vet at all. Give everybody a chance and let them prove and show what they can do. And to me, this is the American way, and I'm proud of the fact that we're doing it this way, and just wanted to share that thought with you guys. And so if you're interested in joining the program, you can go to FounderDojo.com, check it out, schedule a time with me if you have questions, or send me an email. But just wanted to share that perspective with you, and hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.